Hey team, how you doing? Rail, are you okay day for 2021? What a privilege to be able to have a bit of a yarn with you, share a little bit of the reasons why this message, Are You Okay, is such an important part of my world. As an Are You Okay ambassador, I just want to share a little bit of my story on why I'm involved in this. And now, I was born at an early age, little country town called Auckland, New Zealand. So as a young fella growing up in and around Auckland and the Waikato, I was an entertainer. I loved to entertain and things like that. And I ended up getting into some really bad sort of stuff as a young fellow. I was in and out of hospital for rehab after trying to take my life many times, and for mental illness as well. And so it was a real challenge for me. And I got to 17, and I got the opportunity to come to Australia. So I ran away to Australia, so to speak, and I came here wanting to be an entertainer. Ended up, I was actually crap. So I had to find a real job, and that's what I tried to do. I laboured for a lot of, builders and brickies and concreters and you name it. And I ended up settling on a job as an apprentice as a plumber. I wanted to be an electrician, but my dad said, get a trade first, son. So all the electricians out there, yeah, giddy up. So I became a plumber in 1994 with the Queensland Railways, and that's when I first started my railway career. 1994 was also the year that I married my beautiful wife, Marnie. 1994 also was the first year that I started mascotting at the Brisbane Broncos. So for those who don't know, the Broncos, probably the best team in the NRL. Maybe not at the moment, but anyway. So I was Buck the Bronco for 20 years in the Broncos. But back in the 90s, my wife and I, we tried to have kids. We tried all sorts of different methods. It took us about 5 years, and we ended up having two beautiful girls through IVF. Which was a challenge, experiencing highs and lows around that sort of stuff as well. And now I've got two beautiful girls. One looks like me, and the other one looks like the gynecologist, but that's another story. So that's part of my reasons for why I'm so passionate about this conversation that we talk about here. I climbed the ladder in the railways. I tried many different roles in Queensland and Brisbane, up in Moranbah and Mackay and Rocky and all those sort of places. So I did travel a fair bit in the railways, and it was an awesome opportunity to learn different roles and different jobs and things like that. So that's part of my story. And then I got to a year in 2012. 2012 was probably my turning point. Was the year that really reinforced why I do what I do today. Now, 2012, I thought I was Superman. I thought I was bulletproof, and I was doing all these different things. I was pulling in big hours at work, like 12, 14-hour days. And I also thought, I live in Logan in Queensland. I don't know if anyone knows where that is, but I ran for my local seat of Woodridge, and in the state elections. I got 8% of the vote. I was pretty proud of that. And then later on that year, I went on a reality show called Australia's Got Talent. I think I made the semi-finals. So I made the semi-finals of that. So that was a good big thing. But I got to the end of that, and I was really, really cooked. I was really struggling. At that time in the organisation, there's a lot of scuttlebutt around the possibility of jobs being lost. In that sector, and so that whole anxiety over, I was in my 40s at that stage when they started touting about the job losses, and I really became anxious, and I was tired already from doing the reality show, from doing the politics and pulling big hours at work, and now that extra layer of uncertainty around my future. What am I going to do as a 40 plus year old? If I lost my job, how would I look after my family? How would I look after my kids? How would I feed them? How would I get another job? I'd only, there's that whole adage, there's a right way, a wrong way, and a railway. There's that whole perception that's a one job sort of thing. So I really was doing it tough towards the end of 2012, and this is something that really changed the trajectory of my world. Now, I started doing things differently, and my boss he started noticing. We know when people are on, we know when people are off. And he started to notice that I was struggling and I wasn't doing okay. And so he started taking me out for coffees. He'd take me out for coffee. He goes, you're doing all right, Justin. Are you okay? And I'd be like the typical bloke. Oh, yeah, nah, the Alfie. Yeah, nah, mate, I'm all right. Yeah, I'm all right, mate. I wasn't. But he kept taking me out. In fact, he kept taking me out so many times that I had to go onto skinny milk because I was starting to bloat. But finally, he got to the point where he asked me again. I said, no, mate, I'm not okay. He says, oh, far out. Well, we could tell. I'm glad you finally said something. And then I just began to explain, all the things that were going on in my head. And he said, look, I don't know what to do. He says, but what I do know is how about we make a call? And so we went back to his office and he made a call. He called my local GP. That's all we could think of at that particular time. Now I've learnt there's so many other different resources available to us, each and every one of us in Australia. So he took me back. We made the call to the GP. The GP said, you probably need to talk to a psychologist. Now I was seeing a psychologist on the side. I just didn't tell anyone about it. So I called my psychologist up and she said, I think you need to get to your local hospital and I think you need to admit yourself. So my wife picked me up and we headed to the local hospital, Logan Hospital, and it was there that I got admitted to the psych unit where they diagnosed me with a mental illness of bipolar type 2. And that was a real big thing for me to undergo, to understand exactly what that meant for me. But that was the point that I got some help. That I actually, I've attempted suicide in the past, but at that time, my boss noticed some stuff. He called me out on what we noticed, and he got me to the help that's available. And because of that, I managed to get some help and get some treatment. And actually, continue to be able to do what I do today. So that is a little bit of my story, the abridged version, so to speak. But I wanted to share that to let you know that, look, as a dodgy old plumber, 27 years in the game as a plumber, in the railways, in construction period since then as well, that I've learnt some skills on how to have these conversations. Now, we've got it up there, trust the signs. So I want to break down just how all that happened for me and how you might be able to pick up if one of your mates, if one of your friends, if one of your family members is struggling or doing it tough, how to actually pick them up on that, how to call them out on what you notice, how to have a conversation about it, how to listen, and how to get them to the help that might be available. So I just want to break down those. We call it the 4 steps of the conversation. First, trust the signs. And when I talk about signs, the things that people do. You see, we've been trained since we're knee high to a caterpillar that we don't talk about stuff when we're struggling. We don't put our hands up readily. That's what my dad taught me. That's what his dad before him taught him. And so we do things, we say things and we do things, sometimes consciously, sometimes subconsciously, to let the people around us, the people in our world know that, hey, we're struggling, we're doing it tough. So I liken those signs to be things like, the things that we do differently. My boss noticed for me that I wasn't turning up early like I usually do. And so I was making a lot of mistakes, and that wasn't like me. And I was saying stuff, actually I wasn't. I was the one that was singing and dancing and telling all the jokes, and then I started to become silent and withdrawn. And that was a big pickup for him. And so those are some signs, things that people do differently, things that people let us know, whether consciously or subconsciously, that they're struggling. So those are all those invitations to be able to have a conversation, to be able to ask, are you okay? And he says, Justin, I'm seeing you do those sort of things. I'm hearing you say that sort of stuff. And I've got this feeling that something's not right. What's going on? Are you okay? So he picked up on those signs and he asked me the question. Are you okay? Ask the question. It's all you have to do. But we use those signs. We use all those things that we notice. So I used to be the Brisbane Broncos mascot, and I would run out onto Suncorp Stadium or Sydney Olympic Park or over in New Zealand up in Townsville. I would run out onto the stadium and people would give it to me. They would absolutely call me out on the team that I was supporting. And we do this in everyday life. So I'm not asking you to do anything different than to call your mate out, to call your friend out, to call your family member out on those changes that you notice, on those signs that they're showing us that they want a conversation about this sort of stuff. So we notice just some things. We call them out and we say, hey, I'm seeing this, I'm hearing that, what's going on? Are you okay? Now, don't ask that question if you're not waiting for an answer, okay? So all I'm saying is, if they're not okay, if they say, actually, no, I'm not, like I did with my boss, mate, I'm not okay. He goes, far out. Well, that's really important. Let's talk about this. I'm listening. And that's what this is about. We listen to understand, not listen to respond. You see, if you're going to ask this question, I think the biggest fear factor for a lot of people, and it was for me for a while there, was that if I ask this question, they say they're not okay, I don't know where to go to from there. So all we say is, listen to understand, not listen to respond. I'm a plumber, I fix taps. I can't fix people. And so when I was going through my stuff, I didn't actually want him to fix me. I just wanted him to hear me. I wanted him to understand all the stuff that was going on in my life that was causing my head to think, down this track and to be feeling how I was feeling. I just wanted him to understand. So we listen to understand, not listen to respond. As soon as I've gone into fix-it mode, I've actually stopped listening to me mate, to my friend, to my family member. So we listen to understand, step 2. Step 3, encourage action. Now this is it. This is where it's not so much the handball, but this is where we go, fair dinkum, you got a bit going on there, mate. I reckon we need you to get you to someone that can actually help keep you safe. Who's the best person to keep you safe? Some people, and myself included, I had a psychologist at that time. So that was probably my go-to. Nowadays, it's my wife. My wife is that person that knows all the ins and outs and knows how to get me to the safety that's out there. And so we encourage that action. Who's the best person to keep you safe right now? You've got a bit going on. I reckon we need to get you to someone that actually can help keep you safe. And it could be like my boss. It could be as simple as, how about we make this call together? Let's call your GP. You see, we've had 1300 numbers and help numbers since the war. Numbers don't save people. People save people. So if you're a mate, if you're a friend, if you're a family member, make that call for that person. Keep them in the room with you. Let's call someone. Let's get you to someone that can keep you safe, that can help you right now. So use that. Encourage action. So 1, trust the signs. Ask, are you okay? 2, listen to understand, not listen to respond. Number 3, encourage action. Who's the best person to keep you safe? Who can we make a call to right now? Do we need to go to the hospital? Do we need to call an ambulance? Do we need to call your husband, your wife, your partner? Who can we call to get you to some help? And it could be the GP, it could be the hospital, it could be one of those. And then what would I want my mate to do if I was struggling and I've got some help and all that? The next one is a beautiful Kiwi word. Check in, bro. Check in. That's all you got to do. How's it going for you, mate? Because I know, look, I've been battling my stuff for probably about 34 years now. So I've been to many counsellors, many hospital stays and visits and all that sort of stuff. And I know that not every person that I've been connected with has been the right fit for me. So I always say, if I have a bad pizza, I don't stop eating pizza, I go to a different pizza shop. So this is where we check in, mate. How's that counselling going for you? Is it working? Because if it's not, we don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. How about we try and hook you up with somewhere else that might be a better fit for you? So that's what the check-in's about. Also lets your mate know that you care. It's not just a notch on the belt or whatever you like. This is about, hey mate, I care about you, mate. And I'm worried and I want to make sure that you're getting the right help when you need it. So that's what it's about. See the signs, trust the signs. Call your mate out on that stuff. Hey mate, that's not like you. You're doing those things. You're saying that stuff. All of these things that I'm picking up on aren't like you. What's going on? Ask the question. Are you okay? wait for that answer. You know, if they are, awesome. Well, I'm still checking in on you. I'm still going to keep, like my boss said, I'm still going to take you out for coffee because I can see there's some stuff going on there. And I'm worried about you, but I'm going to keep asking and letting you know. Every time my boss asked me, are you okay? It gave me a little seed of hope that someone gave a rip about me. So that's what it's all about. So ask the question, are you okay? Listen to understand, not listen to respond. Encourage action. How about we make this call together? Who's the best person to keep you safe? And then check in. That's the 4 simple steps of are you okay? Alex, ask, listen, encourage, action, check in. Check in, bro. So that's me. That's my story. Bright and shiny, and some days are diamonds and some days are stones. Some days I'm okay and some days I'm not. But it's okay not to be okay. It's just not okay to do nothing about it. So as a friend, as a mate, as a family member, check in on the people that have real meaning for you. Ask, are you okay, if you can see those changes, and get them to the help that's available. Thanks for that. I'm hoping each and every one of you out there is having a cracker of an Are You OK month with Rail Are You OK. Such a privilege to be able to share a little bit of my story, and hoping that you get a little bit out of that to maybe help you have those important conversations with the people in your world. So take care, look after yourself, and happy Rail Are You OK Day.